tired of people just telling you to rest. Like that's just gonna magically fix everything. Hi, a lot of the advice that we got was absolutely hot dookie and I'm here to fix it. I'm Lisa. I'm the original Simple Rep. Follow along if you want to hear more updated advice for the modern era. I am frustrated. We need something new, and I'm here for that. And today we're going to be tackling rest. Why is it so complicated, and what do we need to do about it? Everybody keeps telling us to rest, but we're all still exhausted because we keep prescribing sleep to solve problems that aren't caused by being sleepy. The number of times that my mother has told me, hey, just rest. She's genuinely worried about me. But at the end of the day, just rest isn't helpful advice. Could not find it more annoying. Because every single one of those conversations felt like a weight of their own. In 2026, figuring out how to rest is a job in its own right. The average demands on your time are just up across the board. If you feel like the world is complicated, let me reinforce that for you, that you aren't crazy. The world is simply more complicated. Technology is going at an absolutely crazy rate. The expectations that we have around our kids are getting higher and higher. Understanding how finance works, how credit works, how loan works. Reminder that in the 80s, credit scores weren't a thing. Expectations around schooling, continuing education is just a thing now. If I want to stay employed, I need to keep learning. The job market is bananas. You need to be smarter than AI to get your resume even in front of a recruiter. Snake oil with AI is coming faster than ever and is harder than ever to identify. The world is just more complicated. I say all of this to say, stress is coming at us from multiple directions. That means that you need to be a lot smarter. You need to know a lot more things. You need to be on your toes and ready to move at all times in order to make it today. And that's exhausting. Also points to that it is a multifaceted problem where we actually need to understand all of the symptoms and what it is that we're actually solving for. And just fair warning, we don't have to do this all at once. I actually recommend we don't do this all at once. I'm going to say this so many times in this series. We need to start by defining our problem before we start looking at solutions, or we're just going to treat symptoms. It also is going to get us to all or nothing thinking, where if we can't solve the whole big picture that we have in our head, we might as well not do anything. And that is never going to be my take. But by understanding our problem clearly and then defining our solutions and giving them names, everything is going to become more concrete, even if we can't action all of it today. The absolutely most annoying part about all of this is that my mom was right. We do need to make time for our sleep. Look at the research here from the Mayo Clinic. But frankly, you need to make time for sleep or your heart explodes is a pretty convincing argument for me to try to make sleep more of a priority. That said, kiddos still need things, which means I still need a job, and boss man needs me to work so that I can get a paycheck. So how do we work this in? We're not going to be able to solve it all at once, but understanding what tendrils exist from our problem of needing more sleep will make it easier for us to troubleshoot and to figure out how we're going to get through this together. We're going to break this up into 6 parts. We're going to have our physical, emotional, our decision fatigue, our social burnout, financial stress, and then finally, you don't have purpose. You lack meaning. You have meaning depletion, as the fancy people say. When you think through how millennials were raised, we were raised on a lot of messaging like work hard, push through, hustle, don't quit. You've got this. Just work hard enough, you'll get up the hill and you'll get a gold star and you'll end up with your house with a white picket fence and 2.5 kids. 1.5 kids with 2.5 TVs? Something like that. And then we were simultaneously being told that we were crazy for how hard things were, right? Because nothing quite was adding up, right? And somehow it was always our fault for not being able to go the extra mile. There were no systemic issues that were at play. It was all just the personal responsibility of the individual millennials that we just weren't getting it done. It wasn't the systemic changes to how credit worked, how student loans worked, how the healthcare system worked, to how our social safety net was structured. None of those issues were causing us any stress, any fatigue, anything like that. No, it was all our own personal failing. That's why we couldn't rest. Sure. I think our first step then down our journey to be able to get more rest is to acknowledge the reality that it's time to start trusting what we see, what we hear, what we feel, what we know to be true in front of us, and stop letting ourselves be gaslight as a generation. The world today is harder, more complicated. We have more expectations of us today than they did 50 years ago. It's just a fact. We're not going to be able to fix all of these problems at once. However, we're resilient, we're adaptable, we're going to figure out how to survive, then we're going to figure out how to thrive. Let's take our exhaustion segments one by one. Let's start with Physical exhaustion. What is physical exhaustion and how can we treat it? I think we all know what physical exhaustion is, right? Our muscles feel weak. Standing up feels like it would be hard. You just are done. You were physically exhausted. You cannot keep your eyes open. You know when you're bone tired. And honestly, the fix, unfortunately, is what you think it is. You need to do less. Ironically, though, you can't do nothing. You need to sleep. You need to sleep 7 to 9 hours. But you also need to feed yourself because your body, your brain, your muscles, it needs fuel to be able to rebuild itself, to either build the muscle mass if that's what you're working on. So eat a balanced diet and watch your caffeine. If you're going to just drink caffeine to try to get past physical exhaustion, no. Lisa of the past and Lisa of the future. No, that is not how that works. And then finally, you got to move. Go walk around the block, get your blood moving. That's how you recover from physical exhaustion. Emotional exhaustion. Annoyingly, the solution, also sleep. Kind of the opposite though, from your physical body muscles need to recover. You need to give your brain time to rest and to get into the mode where it is actually physically clearing out your stress responses, and also giving your brain time to rest so that you're not so emotionally charged. And as somebody who has a terrible time sleeping, I'm really annoyed that that is the solution for a lot of these types of exhaustion. You do have other options. Where you need to get to is a system regulation. Deep breathing, meditation can help. Working with a therapist to process your emotions and get them unlocked and out, all can be helpful for clearing accumulated stress. The long and short of it is you need to figure out how to release that emotional stress before you can start working through your emotional exhaustion. Finding a good therapist can probably also be its own video because, yeah, that's complicated. All right, decision fatigue. Yes, that's a real thing. Steve Jobs wasn't out of his mind. Doing things like wearing the same shirt every day so you don't have to make a decision about what shirt you're going to wear can help your brain move things faster. The number of decisions that you have to make on a daily basis is taxing on your brain. If you can reduce that number, you're going to be better off. There's also things that you can do around managing how decisions get made when. So if you can put your big decisions in the morning, even if you're not a morning person, if you can put your big decisions before your brain is tired, then you're going to be able to better wade through what those decisions are. They're not going to be so overwhelming versus if you wait to the end of the day and you're already emotionally exhausted. Keep in mind, you have limited bandwidth. So this is a good opportunity when we talk decision fatigue to just sit down and take inventory of what is going on in your world. If you pick up your phone and you have 27 text messages, every single text message that you look at is a decision. You are scrolling through the ticker talker and you're trying to figure out if you swipe or not. Every single one of those are decisions and they are attacks on your brain. Give your brain a rest. Go touch grass. Reset. And then give yourself, when you come back, a framework for limiting how that goes. Are there things that you can do to auto-process your emails, auto-process your text messages? Can you wear black turtlenecks every day? Being able to add structure around how people are allowed to use your time and use your attention is going to go far here. And remember, your attention is valuable. People pay all sorts of money for ads to get your attention. Use your attention like you have a crazy ego and make sure you're using it on stuff that matters. Tips. Slow down. Slow down. You don't need to do everything today. Be methodical with what you're doing with your time. Prioritize the highest stakes stuff when your brain is fresh, and then have decision frameworks for how you're going to make those big decisions. Is it based on cost? Is it based on quality? Is it based on timeliness? Have that framework ready before you even move in to make your decision. Then you're just filling in the gaps. We can talk about decision framework later. Understand what's really your decision versus something that you're trying to take off of somebody else's plate accidentally. Setting boundaries is really important here for making sure that you're not taking on the emotional, mental load for other people, just to make sure things move forward. Learning how to set a good boundary will help here. Limit the demands on your brain. Put your phone down and go touch grass. And then automate and then limit access to you where you can. Financial stress. This is going to be its own video, but think of all of the bills that you have, all of the subscriptions, all of the things that are coming out of nowhere. If you're not sure if you're going to be able to pay rent and rent is going up, if you're worried about healthcare bills, everything is exhausting. The only way to reduce the stress that is caused by financial stress is to make more money or reduce your bills or reduce your risk. We will make many videos on how to do all of those things in detail, but just recognize that if you're not sure if you're going to be able to make a rent payment, that kind of stress is exhausting. It simply is, and you're not crazy for feeling that way. Fifth kind, social depletion or burnout, as a therapist would say. It's basically a fun subset of emotional exhaustion, is where you're triggered by scientific term as too much peopling. No matter who you are, there's some sort of performance that happens when you are around other people. This can be particularly bad for neurodivergent folks, but just for the regular guy, think of how you behave at work versus in front of your friends versus at the supermarket. Needing to manage your persona when you're out in public takes mental bandwidth. So what do? Find your safe people. 2, manage your boundaries. Don't do more than you need to. Really don't want to do a thing, don't do it unless you have an extremely good reason for doing it. And then figure out what your grounding and reset activities are at the end of the day so that your brain has almost a trigger that says, hey, I'm safe now. It could be something like a shower, something that is going to take you out of work zone and put you into home zone, relax zone, right? You need to start building those kinds of triggers into your day. If you don't have an activity that clears your brain, find one. And I don't mean disassociate, I don't mean doom scrolling, I mean clear your brain. Knitting is clinically proven to reduce your stress. Take a hot shower, do 25 jumping jacks. The long and short is that you need to reset and you need to give your brain a signal that it's okay to be safe. This last one's the hairiest one. I find this one extremely hard to talk about, not because it's not logical, but because it's so logical I find it a little painful and I don't necessarily have a good solution. This is purpose depletion. This is the idea that you're not sure what you should be doing with your life. You've lost your sense of direction, you've lost your motivation. You're really not sure where to go next. You might have graduated from college, you might have just plateaued at your job. For whatever reason, you have gotten to a place where you're not sure what to do next. If you are watching this, you are likely an overperformer and you likely hold yourself to an incredibly high bar. Lower your bar for what good looks like here. And I don't mean don't have standards. I mean give yourself credit for doing good. You don't need to change the world on the scale of solving world hunger or global warming. You can make change in your home, in your community, in simple ways that will move the world forward. So I would go back to take smaller steps. Figure out what kinds of things bring you joy or what kind of problems you see in your community or what problems you even see, online. And then take baby steps towards fixing those problems to give yourself that sense of direction. It can be simple as joining a club, finding a new hobby, cleaning the streets of your city. Purpose can be found anywhere, and we have gotten in so much trouble as a society when we start degrading what other people are doing. When we start insulting ourselves, where that's not important enough, I shouldn't do that, that's not a big deal. It's all a big deal. We need good in the world right now. Do what you can where you can, and that is the purpose. Don't kneecap yourself before you've even gotten started with bad self-talk. In sum, just rest isn't terribly useful advice.